So in this app, we're just going to look at what it's going to look like first. Same start button. You'll see I made the cat smaller, but the key presses still work. So it can go back and forth based on those arrow keys. And every time the cat hits the diamond gets a new location. So there's no score here or time or anything like that. It's just a setup of how this will work. And you can see how this could be useful in a lot of different games where either you die when you hit something or you get points when you hit something or anything like that. So over to the app, we're going to start where we left off. So you definitely want to remix the one where you had the key presses with the cat. So you're going to go find that app, remix it, and then you can come back and start coding it. The first thing I want to do is go to design. You'll see just one that the code is what we had left off on that one. You're going to go to design. You're going to make this 20 by 20 for the cat. And then you're going to drag on another image for the diamond. This one's also 20 by 20. We're going to choose a diamond icon. You can actually search for that versus looking through all of them. So now it's a diamond, and I'm going to rename that diamond image. So there's my setup. I'm going to put the cat in somewhere, towards the center of the screen. It doesn't really matter. If it doesn't let me pick it up, there we go. The diamond's going to be set to a random location anyway, so that doesn't matter as much. But wherever you put the cat around that area is fine. So going over to our code, our key presses are going to stay the same. This whole section here that we set up, we're not really going to change a whole lot. We're going to think about what we need to now do with the diamond. So going back to design, I do want to make the diamond image hidden. So when the start button is pressed, just like the cat image, we are going to show element diamond image as well. Now I also want to send the diamond image to a different location on the screen next time. We did that with that movement. Remember when we were clicking on the one that was moving automatically. So I'm just going to set up a function called random location diamond. Now, throughout this program, I am going to have to use the location of the diamond for a couple different things. So I'm actually going to define X diamond or declare X diamond and Y diamond outside of this function. I'm going to be using them, but I'm going to have to use it here. I'm going to have to use it down here in a couple different places. So I'm going to keep it as a global variable. So the X diamond is going to equal a random number. And I chose to do between 50 and 250 for the X. And the Y diamond is a random number. And I chose between 50 and 350. And then we're going to set the position of the diamond image at X diamond, Y diamond. I want to call my function right here before I show the diamond element. It really won't make a difference. It's so fast we won't see it. But so I'm going to call random location diamond here so that when we start out each time we're playing this, little game or whatever, it will go to a new location. So let's just run and make sure that's working. So the diamond ended up here. That diamond ended up here, and we'll try it just one more time. So it does look like it's going to random locations. The next thing I want to start to work on, if you look at the cat was not going off the screen, but now it's kind of weird. Like it can't even get to the edge, right? And it's going off in the other direction. It has to do because I changed the size of the cat. So I went through and found better values for the size of the cat. So this worked out better as 0. The 235 worked out better as 300. The -20 also as 0. And then the 375 as 430. So if I make those changes, right, now it looks like the cat is just hitting the edges, pretty close to as best as possible. Notice nothing is happening. The cat can run through the diamond's not doing anything. So this is where we have to set up a collision function. A collision function, if we think about what makes two things collide, It's basically when their distances get close to zero. Now, if we put exactly zero, the top corner of each of these images would have to be at the same spot. So we think of collision as being zero, but usually we put it as something like slightly bigger than zero, and you just play around with that number. So I am going to create a function here, and I'm going to call it collision. And I'm going to write a general function that will work for any sort of collision. Now, collision is a distance formula, really. We're trying to see when the distance between two things becomes a certain number. So in our distance formula, as in math, let me just see if I can write on this. Oh, my smart ink is not up. The distance formula, if I went here to Google and I Googled distance formula, this is from geometry, we would see this formula. So the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And I'm actually going to set up my distance formula like that with parameters. So if I wanted to use this distance formula in another program, it would still work. So my 4 parameters, which are the 4 parameters, you don't think of them as parameters in math, are x1, y1, that'll be my first point, and x2, y2 will be my second point. So we want to set up a distance. Now our distance is only going to be used in this function. So distance equals, there is a math menu. I'm actually going to pull out some blocks here. I could definitely type this. So the first thing we need in our distance formula is a square root. I don't know why I lost the word math. And I'm going to take the square root, and then I'm going to take x2 minus x1 squared. Now the way we do that, why don't I just change over to blocks for a second? Just so I think you'll be able to see this a little better. I'm gonna put in a space here so I have a space to put something in, which would be there normally. Okay, let's start this over again. So I'm gonna take the square root, and then I'm going to have x2 minus x1, and I capitalize, which is not good. So x2 minus x1, because up here I didn't capitalize. And then this is math power, so it's going to take this quantity and square it. Okay. I'm going to need to go back over to text now. It's just tricky to get everything in together. So this is inside the square root parentheses. Now I'm also going to add this same thing. And then we're going to do y2 minus y1 squared. So what I did here, I'm taking the square root of the difference between the x's squared plus the difference between the y's squared, and ultimately the square root of that whole thing. So that translates as that would be this distance. So back over here, and I'm going to console log distance. I'm not even going to worry about what I'm going to do if the distance is where I want it. I just want to see if this is working. Now down here, below where I move the cat, every single time in the time loop, I want to be checking the distance. So I'm going to call collision for, and the two things I'm checking between are the x cat and y cat. That's my first point. And then the x diamond and the y diamond. So if I run this now, just going to move this out of the way. Do you see how here it says they're 132 apart? It's like jiggling a little bit because it's calculating every 20 milliseconds. And as I move towards it, I see that distance decreasing. And now I'm pretty close to, it's like 14, it's 11, right? It never really becomes 0 because it's really hard to get them lined up. They might not even line up with the way I've set up my velocity. So that looks like it's working. And what I'm going to pick, I want to say if the distance, and I found I could try different numbers, and you really play around. It depends on the size of the images and a bunch of different things. Less than 15 looked good for looking like they were colliding. If that happens, I want to send the diamond to a new location. So I'm just going to run random diamond location. But there's no way that I do this without doing the console log of the distance, okay? Because that's a pretty complicated thing I typed in, and I want to make sure that that's working before I try to make the game actually work itself. So I'm going to press run, start. I see that distance decreasing. The diamond moved when I got close enough. And now it looks like it's functioning properly. And moving around. So there's a lot of things you could do with this, but the idea of collision is really a distance formula, which is a cool application of geometry. A lot of things with, physical video games are really about coming up with geometric formulas for different things.